Okay, so I put the tails on. Inside the stabilizer, each side, there's a little like cardboard piece that holds the shape. There's one on the other side, and that it was all one piece, but I actually split it up and then stuck it separately on either side. I put the stabilizer or the elevator on, cut it, and then made it droop down, put on control horns, which were cut, slots were cut, and then they were just pushed right through, worked great. And then I made and installed the little tail skid. Didn't show any of this because it was very simple to do. It was very self-explanatory. And then I made little holes, actually with a drill, for accepting control wire. So there's some easy line being dipped in fast drying thick side acrylate. And you do that on all those spots in the fuselage. Here, I think I show the second one. I don't show them all because they're all repeats, but you get the idea. A little drop of glue, slide it on where it's supposed to go, and then just keep track of which control horn they end up going to. That one's the top of the elevator, and the other one was the rudder. Now you put a little dab of glue onto a control horn. You grab the piece of easy line and pull it tight, not super tight, but tight so it doesn't sag, and just hold it there for a few seconds. And if you give it about, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe, then that will hold it in place. And then I just did extra insurance, put a little bit of the accelerator on there. And then once all of them are on, I grab the leftover piece and a very sharp, brand new X-Acto blade and just barely touch it. Flink, comes right off. Do it again to show you. Grab the piece when I can find it. Grab it with tweezers or your fingers if you're good, and just barely touch it because you're pulling and stretching, and then you got the super uber sharp blade, and everything just falls right off, and you got a nice neat control system set up there. Looks good. I might later go in and put something that looks like little bits of wire in there too. Now putting on the cockpit combing, and of course it's flat and the fuselage cockpit is curved. So just like always, you grab something that's cylindrical and you roll on your mouse pad, the back of your mouse pad, and you give it a shape. And this took a few minutes to get it just right. I ended up doing this about twice more actually before it was edited. But you can see what you end up with is you're starting to get the shape already perfect. Then you add a little glue on there, and just a little bit is all you need. And this kit again is very well designed, and I cut it out carefully, but it is very well designed because you see how easy this sucker is to fit on. Just line it up so that it's even, grab it with your thumb and tack it, and then you can go ahead and slide it right over the opening and just kind of stretch it over and flatten it out, and you got this beautiful cockpit combing. And because it's painted so well, it looks rounded. It looks very, very, very convincing, more so than I thought it would for essentially a flat piece of paper. It really does set off the cockpit quite nicely against that black. Looks really cool. Like it. Now, machine guns. Did the machine gun barrels, did it differently than I did on the Newport. I'm rolling them, but the paper is just plain old typing paper rather than the thick card stock because it rolls much easier being so thin and it doesn't crinkle. So for something this small, this worked great. On the other, on the Newport, I actually used, I think the Newport, I used a little jig to roll it, but I didn't bother this time. And this worked out great. Put a little glue on the tab that's in there, and then you go ahead and twist them over and squish them down with your, right along the edge like I'm doing, right along the join point with tweezers. And then you've got a real nice barrel. And you just make two of them. You know, and there it is. Make sure it's kind of straight and nice. Looks great. Two barrels ready to go. That went swimmingly. Here's all the little parts of the machine guns. There's a barrel. And I put on already, I didn't show you, I put the little circular piece that goes on one end, that's the front where the barrel's going to go, and the other end, which is the breech end. Now this thing is the actual breech. It looks confusing, but as you look at it and realize how you have to fold it, you score all those pieces to fold them correctly, and you just start folding it together, and it sort of falls into place. If you're like me, it's confusing, but then once you sort of get the hang of it, and again, it's sort of, once you put it together, if you can't see it in your mind's eye at first, once you start actually folding, it actually becomes pretty clear. You're just folding a little rectangular box and then sliding some edges over to cover up the bits and pieces of the thin parts. So that's the main breech, and then you got to put that little piece in, which has been folded, so that it'll go in there as a little jog, like a little L-shaped piece. Put a little glue in there, and grab your tweezer and sort of push it and force it into its L shape, and it'll nestle right in there with a little pressure. And the butt end of that breech didn't have any covering, so I ended up just putting a piece of rectangle over it. Now I'm making sure that that's flat so that the cylinder, or that the barrel will fit nicely. And these are part of, I think, the breeches, the cocking breeches, or the levers, or it's a cover that goes over probably some of that. Put that together, sandwich it as two pieces to make it thick enough, and then you cover the edges with some marker, and then you put a little glue on the side where that piece goes, and then you go ahead and add it. And I find it's easiest to pick up the piece with your tip of your X-Acto, and you just follow where the white line is, where the little white piece is on the side. It kind of shows you where it's supposed to go. And you just drop it in there and kind of press fit, let it dry, and the basic breech is done, like I said, except for the very back end, which I don't show, but I just added a little piece when I was done. Put a little glue on the barrel, line it up, and add it. Just make sure that it is lined up so that, like, the part, or the little barrel will come out. You can see the little circle is vertical. It's down the very bottom, just to make sure that makes sense. And on these Maxim machine guns, the barrel is slightly above the breech. There's a little step, just to make it look right. And there you have 2 machine guns ready to go, except for the tips of the barrels, which will be plastic pulled sprue.